All right, it's 7:30 p.m. We're going to begin this regular meeting of the Rutherford Board of Education on May 9, 2022. I'll ask all those that can to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kelly, please take roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Here.
Mr. Bogosian?
Present.
Mr. Conti?
Present.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Mazzone?
Present.
Dr. Racine?
Here.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Present.
Dr. Olati?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted on the bulletin board outside the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and the Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available in the meeting room, and the agenda is posted electronically on Friday before the meeting date on the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org. Subsequent to the meeting, a video of the meeting will be uploaded to the district's website, www.rutherfordschools.org. The video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link and clicking on Public Meetings and then Videos. So, board members, in your packets, you received two sets of minutes for us to approve. One is the regular meeting of April 25th, 2022, and the other is executive session on that same date. Any questions or comments about those sets of minutes? Hearing none, I'll ask Mr. Kelly to please enter those. So we will begin with the report of our esteemed student representative, Mr. Raffanello.
Good evening, everyone. As we are in the home stretch of the school year and begins to wind down, everyone's looking forward to all the end-of-year activities. Last Monday, seniors had signing day where we signed the wall by guidance to let everyone know our future plans, such as college or any post-secondary related plans. Throughout this month, students in AP classes will be taking their AP exams. Last weekend, the softball team had a tournament for cystic fibrosis where there was a game and had balloons around the field. Last Wednesday, students who were inducted into the Spanish or French Honor Society had their ceremony. Juniors who were inducted into the National Honor Society will have their ceremony this Wednesday night. The art show will be May 18th, where students' artwork will be displayed. Within the next month, as the elementary schools and Union School are having their field days, members of Heroes and Cool Kids plan on volunteering for the Pierpont School field days later this month. Students in the club will be assigned a grade to volunteer for, as each grade has a different days. 4th grade scheduled to have in May 23rd, 5th grade on May 24th, and the 6th graders are scheduled for May 25th. Rain dates, if needed, will be May 26th and or June 1st. On May 26th, student council members will be taking a field trip to Six Flags before Memorial Day weekend, and there will be a $1,000 donation given to the student council charity. The senior awards and prom will be June 3rd. Seniors who applied for scholarships for the awards and are attending prom are very excited. Just like last year, the awards will be at Tryon Field, as we did away with having the breakfast at the Fiesta like they used to before COVID happened. The prom will be held at the El Villaggio on Route 17. Over the next month, spring athletes will start to wrap up their season to prepare for the end of the year. In closing, thanks for listening to my report and have a great evening.
Thank you. All right, thank you. A lot of great events for everyone to look forward to in these final weeks.
Absolutely.
Any questions, comments from board members? So do you have anything in particular you're looking most forward to?
One of the things I'm looking forward to is probably prom and graduation, because I'll get to spend my last moments together with my classmates.
Nice. Dr. Racine, did you have a comment? No. Oh. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to, first of all, again, thank you for your report. And I had shared with the board many of the upcoming events, not only from the high school, but all the schools. And I'm sure I even left a few out because it's a long list. And it's great to be back to that again, where last couple of years, last year we were kind of there, but not quite. Now to get all these events going. But I do want to mention about the change to the senior awards. For a long, long time we had the senior breakfast, and it was a wonderful, wonderful event the day of the prom. But sometimes, out of change, something positive comes. And last year, because we still couldn't be comfortable getting inside we would have the whole senior class go, a lot of people from the community, looking at probably 350 people, 300 people in the hall. And every senior came. And maybe 35 or 40% of the seniors would win some kind of a scholarship or an award, and the others would come and be part of the class. It was nice. But moving it outside and inviting recipients to come and their families, allowed the other students, not to have to sit through a whole ceremony if they chose not to, made it a little more, I think, the parents who came weren't coming and then be disappointed if their child didn't win. They knew that they were a winner of something, right? And the outside part of it, the weather cooperated, was really nice down the field.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought was, let's give it a go again this way this coming year. We will go inside, I think, right to the auditorium if it's
Yes, if it's
a rain
raining.
date. And we'll see. Maybe this will be the new tradition, or maybe we'll revert back years down the road to the breakfast. But this wasn't a COVID decision. This was more of a, hey, it was pretty cool last year,
Mm-hmm.
so let's try it again. Okay? So thank you for all that, and looking forward to, not the end of the year, but we're looking forward to all the fun things at the end.
Absolutely.
And by the way, he mentioned some not so fun things. I mean, it's kind of fun academically, right? But we have a large number of students going through the AP exams the next 2 weeks. We just finished up with state testing. We still have some of it going on in the district. And of course, we have the last quarter of academic stuff going on and the last part of the interscholastic sports season. So there's still a lot of, serious stuff along with the festivities happening, right?
Right.
Okay, well, thank you.
Of course.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Raffanello. I know you have one more board meeting, one more report, so we look forward to that.
Yeah, I know.
And thank you for your thoroughness all year. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. If you have work to do, we understand if you have to leave early as well. But thank you again.
Of course.
It is amazing, right, how quick the year goes. I can remember when we sat in Mr. Morano's office.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like a year ago, right, or 10 months ago.
Probably feels like yesterday.
It does, yeah.
So question actually, Mr. Raffanello was asking me at what point do you hear about a new student representative usually?
Usually, they do whenever they do the student council elections. That should be on the slate for officers. Last year, I think, again, because of COVID, we did the elections, am I right, in the fall, because there were a lot because we were hybrid last year. But normally they're done probably right around the end of May, I would think. Has there been any discussion about that yet?
As far as I heard, they're currently doing student council elections, and the ballots are due on Thursday. And I believe they'll decide the winners, I believe, sometime after Memorial Day.
Right. So we should know before the end of the academic year. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again. We are going to move on now to the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Well, construction continues. I'm happy to report that after months of delay, the gym at Union School is open, and the kids are using it in phys ed class. And now the work in the old gym is commencing to get that converted to the lab. So, we're making progress there. And again, it's Still a lot of work to be done on the outside area of the new gym, but the inside is functioning well for the students. And right now, the plan is to hold the graduation or the moving up ceremony, whatever you choose to call it, for the 8th grade, to hold it in the gym. That seems to be all systems go. And that would also be the backup in case we have a rain out for the high school. So, we're hoping that everything is even more complete, to put it a better way, for entrance in and out of the gym area for graduation. The projects are continuing at Pierpont School, making lots of progress there, and lots of preliminary stuff happening here at the high school to get ready for the major renovation that will be going on in the summer. So we're moving along at a good pace. The other projects that Mr. Kelly had shared with you all a couple of meetings ago, we're in the process of getting them up and running as well as we're approaching summer. CUSAC has finally ended. It was the longest CUSAC, I think, in state history. We were supposed to be done in January, and things got delayed for a number of various reasons. And the facilities and finance visit that was supposed to take place January, then in March, got kicked down the road a couple of times, happened this past Wednesday. Mr. Kelly, Mr. Paterno, and I accompanied the state business administrator, the county business administrator, Mr. Steve Burke, on tours of the high school and Lincoln, and it was a thorough visit. We probably were out in the two buildings, I would guess, over 3 hours, right? And plus he was up with you for an hour or so in the office. And we don't expect, he said he's about a month away from finishing the report, believe it or not. And he said the state is about 6 to 8 weeks once they get the reports. So we may not hear about this. We will hear about the new student rep before we hear about this. We will not hear about this probably until August, maybe even September, which seems a bit crazy, but that's the way it's moving. Okay, but all evidence that we got, all reports that we have, seems that everything is positive. So we'll see. We did conduct water testing throughout the entire district in April. Lead. Every single source of water, whether it be a sink, a fountain, a spigot for a hose, any place that water came out of was tested while school was in shutdown over spring break, because there has to be a certain number of hours that you're not using the water, and there's a whole procedure. We got our preliminary report, which was positive. When every single place that water comes out of in the district's tested, we had 4 sinks. None of them were ever used for any kind of drinking or consumption. 4 sinks tested a little high, and those 4 sinks, 2 of them in Pierpont, 1 in Washington, 1 in the high school, were immediately taken out of commission, which is what you need to do, and we did that. And so all in all, it was a good report. And we have not yet received the complete report from Garden State Environmental. Once we do that, it will be posted on our website. I was going to mention end of the year stuff. Rich mentioned that, and I referred to it as well. And again, I would suggest to everybody, including board members, if you're interested in any of these events or more, do check the website and the calendars, because things do change sometimes from time to time. Okay. We are closed, the district, on May 27th, Friday, for Memorial Day, and on May 30th, Memorial Day. As I've told you before, the 27th is due to the fact we only used 1 snow day. And then students are off on June 1st, as we have a professional development day planned for teachers and staff. A couple of student updates I do want to mention. We do have 4 members of our Union School STEAM team, robotics team, Jack Morrow, Amber Patel, Gabby Pakovics, and Sam Kudma. They and their coach and advisor, Mr. Helfingstein, are currently in Dallas participating in the VEX Robotics State Championship. And that was, the VEX Robotic National Championships. That was after qualifying in the state championships to go. And the board may remember, and the public may remember, that prior to COVID, when these events happened, our Union School team made it to the Nationals several times and always advanced well in the states with years that they did not. So we'll get results at the end of the week, and I'll certainly share them with you. I also want to mention that 2 of our high school choir members were selected for the state choir, which is a significant achievement, and that's Daniel Fensick, and Amelia Perlmutter, and both of these individuals will join the state choir. They'll be doing 2 performances. I'm not exactly sure of the dates, or I know one is in Atlantic City, and one is in the New Jersey PAC. The state convention for superintendents is in Atlantic City, so I'm hoping that maybe that's where they're performing. But I don't know that to be the case. Anyway, congratulations to them, and also Miss Blanchard, who's the choir director here. And I'll be making some comments as we go along in the agenda about some agenda items. But one I did want to mention up front was the recommendation to the board for the new director of Building and Grounds, Mr. John Gamboa. And Mr. Gamboa comes to the district with close to 30 years of experience as a project manager. He comes with an engineering background out of NJIT. And we are fortunate that Mr. Gamboa did spend close to 2 years here in the district as a project manager over the kindergarten project and Union School project. About a few months ago, he moved to another project for the company he's with because that one was going to be a little further out lasting. But he was interested in the position, and we're happy to welcome him on to replace Mr. Paterno beginning July 1st, provided he's approved tonight. Okay? So that's my report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Early. Questions and comments from board members? Ms. Jones.
I'd like to comment. I have been attending the superintendent's coffee hours. Last week, we did 4 schools last week, and it's 2 more this week. As Union is tomorrow morning, and Friday is the high school. Jack handled them beautifully, and there were parents there. Some of them, 2 of the schools, Lincoln and Pierpont, had more questions, but they all went well, and I think they were good. I don't know how many more people could have come if they had known about it. It's nice if you can get there in the morning, but a lot of people are working.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you being there, Ms. Jones. And yeah, they went well. And like I said, the crowds were between, well, crowd is not the right word to use, but the people in attendance were ranged from maybe 4 to about maybe 11 or 12 at one. But, you know, I'm looking at it, too, in terms of over the course of 6 of these, when we're all done, the aggregate number is probably going to be, you know, somewhere 50 or 60. And it's rare when we do a night presentation that we get that many. So I think the total numbers were fine. I think the more personalized nature of it, you know, more face-to-face, closer proximity, and more conversational. So, yeah, it went well, and we have 2 more this week.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Other comments or questions? Mr. Conti?
Yeah, so a bunch of kids on my 7th and 8th grade lacrosse team have had nothing but awesome things to say about the new gym at Union. You know, we had a game right after it opened up, and that's all they on the drive to where we were playing. That's all they talked about was how great it was. So,
yeah, thank you, and I'll share that, you know, with others. And I remember, and I think I shared with the board, we didn't get that from Union, but when the kids walked in at Pierpont, that video and their face, you know, it is exciting for them. And remember, these are students who, you know, they're coming out of the last year where the gym was half demolished, right? Yeah. So I'm sure
it's
they're
such a
really
night and
happy.
day difference between what the old gym and what they have now.
And you know, to Mrs. Jones' point about the coffee hour, when we were at Pierpont, we had to move from the multi-purpose room to the gym because of testing. And the number of people who commented about the gym and also just about the renovations in general, and I've heard from people in the other meetings as well, very positive comments. So I'm very happy that it's the people that we're doing this for are pleased with it. So I appreciate hearing that.
And now we're a district with 4 really good-sized gyms.
Right. Maybe I'll come back and start coaching again.
Well, we're 5, right? The only one that doesn't have the gym is Sylvan. And that's not going to, that's the kindergarten.
So you're relegating me to coach of Sylvan? Is that what you're saying?
Just don't hit your head on the pole.
No, but it is nice to have that ability.
I don't know how many districts have all new gyms.
No.
I mean, every one of them.
No, and last thing I'll say on that, we had the Hall of Fame induction ceremony a week or two ago, and you get to see a lot of students and former coaches and from the past, some 20, 30 years from the past, even more. And again, it was amazing the number of folks who were commenting on the renovations, and they've followed it online or they've taken a drive-by and things like that. So it really is a credit, I think, to the community and to the board, that we're accomplishing this, and we're hearing such kudos about it.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Hearing none, we're going to move on to the report of the president. I'll keep it brief. I think in the spirit of Faculty Staff Appreciation Week that just passed, want to signal and send the faculty staff our appreciation for all the great work that they do, and hearing about all the bright spots and things that are happening throughout the district and all the accomplishments of students, I think speak to the commitment and integrity of the faculty and staff. So want to publicly say thank you to them. Thank you, Mr. Hurley, for sharing all the end of the year events, and a reminder, I know everyone's really busy and there are a lot of events, but it is really meaningful when we can try to attend events. So hopefully board members will try to make an effort to attend some of the events that are here. For those who are interested in attending the end of the year dinner on June 9th, it's another opportunity to celebrate a great year of faculty and staff. The deadline's May 16th. I handed in my check this evening. Who's going to join me?
I'm in already.
All right. Oh,
mine.
all right. So if you're able to go, it's a great time. And finally, wanted to send a reminder for board members to please complete the CSA evaluation. So the goal is that on June 6th, at the next board meeting during executive session, I would like to go over the results of that evaluation. We just go over it as a board. It's your opportunity to give comments on the first round of the summary draft that I'll have written up. And then before the June 27th meeting, the final draft would go to everyone. And at the June 27th meeting, that's when Mr. Hurley will have already received it and will have an opportunity to make any comments. So working backward, to be able to have a write-up for June 6th, I'd like to ask everyone to try to get it in by May 20th. If you cannot,
23rd is what you said.
sure, let's go with May 23rd, yeah. Just seeing if people are listening. So May 23rd, so that's a Monday. I had moved it up to Friday. So Monday, May 23rd, if everyone can have that in. I won't signal how many people have completed it yet, except to say I know I have, and look forward to 9 out of 9 like we had last year. So appreciate everyone. Obviously, if we all give feedback, it's going to be more meaningful to Mr. Hurley and the spirit of its intention. So thank you for that. Those are all of my comments at this point. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Then at 7:54 p.m., we're going to open the meeting to the public for any comments related to the agenda this evening. Any comments? All right. Hearing none, we're going to close the meeting at 7:54 p.m., and we are going to move on to new business where there is action to be taken. This is one of those evenings where there are a lot of names and renewals and whatnot on here, so I'm glad that board members have had the opportunity to take a look at these and read them page by page, and I am going to turn it over to Mrs. Ahmed.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Good night, Richard.
Why is this turning? All right, personnel, we had a meeting, and I have to go over the notes which we had. Mr. Bogazian and Dr. Alati Mr. Conti was absent, and Mr. Hurley was there. So the first one, we decided the list of renewals and non-renewals were reviewed and will be included in the board packet. The board will only act upon renewals. Number 2, Mr. Hurley provided an update on the hiring of new faculty and staff. There are many open positions, and the district has made significant progress. All positions at Pierpont are filled, as many at Union and the high school. Many positions have just been posted as they were contingent on the budget passing. 3, Mr. Hurley reviewed the recommendation of Mr. Gamboa as the Director of Buildings and Grounds. Mr. Gamboa served as a project manager for the Kindergarten Center and Union School project. The committee supported recommendations, and 4 is listed in your packet. All right, and then tonight personnel has 15 different motions we have to go over very quickly, a lot of them. For instance, number 1 is the employees listed below are being recommended for renewal positions, and that is all number 1. Number 2, that's listed, and then number 2, accordance, the employees below are recommended for renewal positions this year for contract renewals non-certified, and that is number 2, and you have 2 pages of those if you looked over your packet. I hope you memorized all of them. And number 3, Abby Rabinowitz to accept the resignation at middle school. Number 4, Christine Knapp to accept the resignation at elementary teacher at Lincoln School. 5, Dominic Vizano to accept resignation as a utility Class B worker in the maintenance department. 6, John Gamboa. Approve John Gamboa as Director of Buildings and Grounds for the Rutherford School District, effective July 1st through June 30th at the annual rate of $132,000. This is a replacement position. 7, John Gamboa to approve as a facilities consultant, and the rate is $550 per diem. 8, Mackenzie Leeds to approve as a math teacher for Rutherford High School. Service providers, number 9, for approval for the teachers to provide services at new teacher orientation and other necessary summer training at the hourly rate of $65. 10, employee 2032, approve intermittent leave of absence under the New Jersey Family Leave Act and U.S. Family and Medical Leave Act. Number 11, home instructors, to approve her as a home instructor, Mary Margaret Olivo, to a home instructor for the 2022 school year. 12, Summer Enrichment Academy teachers, and they're all listed there for you. 13, substitute teachers for the school year 21-22, and that's just Kevin Albercon, Patricia Bimson, and Dana Gallo, and Cameron Schlip, I hope. 14, substitute teacher, and that's Kevin Alacron, Patricia Bimson, Daniel Gallo, and Cameron Schlip again. 15 is to approve the following travel reimbursements for the year for Emily Bregman, Frank Morano, and Kurt Schweitzer. And I ask for the board's approval to move 1 through 15 as presented to us by Mr. Hurley.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Ahmed. Questions or comments from board members? Mr. Kelly?
Just want to point out on the last one that Mr. Morano and Mr. Schweitzer, that conference is in the 22-23 school year, not the 21-22 school year, so I'll make a note in the minutes on that.
Okay.
Yep. All right, Mrs. Ahmed, you moved those. Do we have a second? Mr. Bogosian? Any last comments or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Kelly, please take roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Bogosian?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on now to curriculum and instruction. Mr. Jones?
Thank you. We did not have another meeting. There are 9 resolutions that are put forward at the recommendation of the superintendent. Number 1, service provider. to rescind the approval made on April 25th for the ROW educational evaluations in Kearney. 2 is comprehensive equity plan. That's an annual plan, an annual statement of insurance for the school year to 22 to 23. Resolution 3 is the approval of 73 field trips. Resolution 4 for student home instructions for 2 students. 5 NJSIAA to approve the summer athletic practice for Rutherford High during the summer recess period in end of June through August 31st. 6 Stress Less Summer Program. That starts on July 5th through and July 6th at Pierpont School. 7 teacher evaluation to approve the following practice, which is for the Charlotte Danielson, the framework for the Teaching 2007 edition, which is what we've been using for the past number of years. 8, New Jersey Principal for Professional Learning Process. And 9 is the overnight trip for the STEM team that Mr. Hurley spoke earlier about in Dallas, Texas. Pardon me.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Jones. Questions from board members? Ms. Ahmed?
On number 7, teacher evaluation, is that the year edition, like 2007? Isn't that kind of old?
Yeah, that's the addition.
Isn't that old?
Well, it's teaching practice. It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's a template which talks about common teaching practice and hasn't really changed. You know, it doesn't describe specifics. It talks about technology. It doesn't say what kind of technology. It talks about lesson planning.
Are there any new additions?
There's a newer version of Danielson, but quite frankly, it's not. And as newer as probably 2012. It's not as user. I don't want to say friendly. It's just not as good. It talks about things that don't philosophically or ideologically match with our philosophy of teaching.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, hearing none. Ms. Jones, do you want to move those?
I move resolutions 1 through 9 under curriculum instruction.
All right, we have a second. All right, Mr. Healy, any last comments or questions? Hearing none. Mr. Kelly, please take roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Mr. Bogosian?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to finance now. Dr. Racine?
Finance, we have 7 items today. 1, the approval of bills. 2, the March report. 3, the budget transfers as listed. 4, the bike rodeo, to approve the bike rodeo for this year. Item 5, to accept the proposal of Care Plus New Jersey. 6, to approve Phoenix Advisors as our bond agent again, right, for the yearly contract. And number 7 is to a cooperative transport agreement with the County Service.
And that, by the way, is for 22-23, not 21-22.
Copy paste that.
Yeah.
Is that a renewal, or is that?
Yes,
That's it.
All right. Questions from board members? Hearing none. Dr. Racine, want to move this?
I want to say that I got the bike rodeo back. It's been gone for 2 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids missed it. And they're affected with my daughter, so glad to have it back with these kids. If you have a chance to stop by what's going on, it's a lot of fun to be volunteering.
Yeah, I would like to comment too that the recreation department and is I believe in the borough is providing the funding that was needed for it. There's been grant money in the past and it's coming from the borough this year, and so it's it's a community effort type of approach.
Now I'd like to move items 1 through 7 in finance.
All right, we have a second. Mr. Mazzone, any last comments or questions? Hearing none, Mr. Kelly, please take roll.
Mrs. Ahmed,
Yes.
Mr. Bogosian,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone,
Yes.
Dr. Racine,
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry,
Yes.
Dr. Awadi.
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on now to policy. Mr. Healy.
Yes, we did not have a committee meeting since our last board meeting, and there are no motions for this evening.
Okay.
If I may, I received a week ago some update policy from Strauss Esme. I just started the process today of doing a first run through of them, and then I'll parcel them out to the various administrators. There's also 2 policies that we are making some minor homegrown adjustments to in our attendance and grading policy, and they're mostly to be aligned with current practice, just need a little revision. So I'm hoping that, or thinking that we might be able to move these for the 2 June meetings, or if not, the June and July meetings. It just depends how long the internal review takes. Okay, so we should have something shortly with policy.
Okay. Thank you for that. We are going to move on to buildings and grounds. Mr. Sprayberry.
Good evening. We did not have a meeting this month. We have one agenda item moved forward at the superintendent's recommendation. 4 change orders over at Union Middle School, all dealing with compliance. And the only question I have is for the change order number 5, Mr. Kelly, on ongoing testing of construction. Could you provide some insight to that?
As part of all of these projects, we've engaged, or let me take that back, a professional testing laboratory has been engaged, and they're testing for soil, they're testing for anything, any of the conditions that are asbestos.
Yep.
And we also have a separate asbestos consultant.
Okay.
But we do engage these people to come in and do the testing so that we have an independent opinion on these things.
Good.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. I'd like to move those that one motion, please, sir.
Okay. Mr. Bogosian seconded that. Any comments or questions from board members? Hearing none, Mr. Kelly, please take roll.
Mrs. Ahmed,
Yes.
Mr. Bogosian,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone,
Yes.
Dr. Racine,
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry,
Yes.
Dr. Awadi.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on now to old business. Does anyone have any old business they'd like to bring up? Mrs. Jones.
It was my pleasure to go to many concerts. Pierpont Schools on April 27th, Washington Schools on May 3rd, the RHS one on May 5th, and coming up this week is the Union one. I'd just like to say that Dana Gallo was filling in for Michael Fogno, and she was wonderful. She did such a great job with the band, the concert band. It's really wonderful to see her. I see her that she's on as a substitute teacher now, so maybe we'll see her in the district now and then. They were all great.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones, and for attending those concerts and reporting back. Other old business? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to legislative update. Mrs. Jones?
Just one. This is Assembly Bill 3706. It requires individuals appointed to serve as the school anti-bullying specialist and district anti-bully coordinator to serve in those capacities full-time. Now, currently, they're appointed by the principal, and they're usually counselors, psychologists, and so forth. But it's not a full-time position as a bully. So that's an impact that increases personnel if that goes through, is it not?
Yeah, if I can't imagine it being a full-time job in any district in the state of New Jersey. I mean, a full-time job. I really can't imagine that. So we hope that doesn't pass.
Yes. That's the only reason why I mentioned it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We are going to now open the meeting to the public at 8:10 p.m. for any items related or not related to the agenda this evening. Any open items? Okay, and at 8:10 p.m. we are going to close the meeting to the public. We do have a need for an executive session to discuss an update to REA negotiations. We should be in executive session for about 5 to 10 minutes. No action is to be taken. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Mr. Sprayberry, seconded by Mr. Bogosian. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go into executive session.